Namaste everybody. Welcome to my very amateur video. I hope that you don't have high expectations. If you don't, we'll be great together. Let's go ahead and do some movement. I am going to give you the option to use some weights. I have a variety of weights here, different pounds from 5 all the way up to a 20-pound kettlebell. And also, if you don't want to use weights, but you just kind of want to have a sense of something in your hand and add like a little tiny bit of weight, you could use blocks instead, or just various things around the house, salt and pepper shakers. Again, nothing would be fine too, and you would still be lengthening and contracting the muscles, and that is still wonderful for you. So go ahead and come to the floor, come to your mat. I'm going to go ahead and pad my knees with a blanket here. And we'll just start to do some movement of the spine, finding some movement of blood and synovial fluid into the joints, whatever feels good here. You can go into extension and flexion. You can take lateral movement, sometimes coming off center and taking the hips a little side to side, even letting the scapula lift, moving that, delaminating the scapula from the rib cage. And then let's just send it back into a nice long child's pose. Reach the fingertips forward, hips draw back. Deep breath in and out. Inhaling, rise to all fours, tuck your toes and send it back into a really gentle downward facing dog. Pedal it out here, alternately bending one knee and the other, soften the neck down. You're not trying to get the heels to the floor, just a little bit more sense of length. And then lower, slower than you want to go. Draw the abdominals and all the organs back towards the spine as you lower down to an all fours position here. And then walk it back a little bit with the fingertips. Tuck the toes under, and we'll open the toes and the arches of the feet. Give a few breaths there. And if it feels okay to rise up a little bit more and add a little more weight to that, head over the shoulders, feel free to do that. Good. And then we'll come to a kneeling position. So not letting the heels splay to the sides or in, just kind of nice tuck so it's a little more even across the toes. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now you can interlace here or skip that and take the arms back up. Free the neck, relax the jaw, and then add a teeny tiny little bit of twisting. So we're just bringing some awareness to the shoulders, to the area of the thoracic spine. So rather than taking the hips with you on this twist, think about it coming from higher up. Inhale. And exhale, float the arms down, maybe roll the shoulders a few times here, and send the neck, snap, crackle, pop, wherever that feels good. Opening into the hips just a little bit here, so the adductors, the inner thighs. You'll take one foot, doesn't matter which one, and that will face the short edge of your mat. Again, I like to have the blanket under the knee here, so as I send my pelvis a little bit towards that front foot, I'm really patting the inner knee and just a little bit gentle in and out. So I'm not bouncing here, I'm not moving fast, just a little bit of opening. So you have one leg in external rotation and one in internal. And then you'll pause not at the collapse of your soft tissue, but with support while you have a stretch that you can maintain your breath in. And then maybe take the arms into your warrior two position. Breathing here. And then lower that back arm, reach up, almost like you were going to do that reverse warrior, but your back knee is down. You can get a nice straight line of length through the side body, or take it back any amount. That back hand might like to come to a block for support. So you can go a little more lateral here, or you can even rotate a little more open, more heart to the ceiling. Shoulders gently roll back, breathing here. Very careful to come back, we'll go ahead and shift the weight back over that lower knee, draw the other leg in. Put the block in between the thighs, draw it in. So now we're activating the adductors gently, so you'll feel a slight slide over the patella. Breathe here. And again, you have the option to interlace the fingers. This time, interlacing maybe the other finger on top, and draw the arms up and add maybe a little bit of freedom, little bit of twisting here. And then from here, inhale and exhale, float the arms down. Roll the shoulders back a few times, and we'll take that hip opener gently to the other side. So pointing the toes and the knee roughly the same direction. You might want to have that block behind you. And then we'll just go a little bit in and out, not going to end range of our motion here, just to where we're feeling a stretch. We can still breathe pretty easily. And then we'll bring it into our warrior two arms. And then that option for the lateral straight line, or a little bit more of a chest rotation to the ceiling for that modified peaceful warrior. Stay rooting down, easy with the breath. Back to that kneeling warrior two position. We'll do that shift again. So taking care of the hips and the low back, shifting it back, and then come back, block goes in between the inner thighs. This time, I'm going to show you from the side. This time, interlacing the fingers, and we'll go into a hips back rounding. So it's almost like we're doing a kneeling cat pose, breathing here. And I like to shimmy a little bit here and get into the shoulder blades, back body a little bit, drawing the organs way back towards the spine for support. And then inhale with or without interlace fingers, coming up again. And float the arms down and soften that all out. Let's move the block to the side and move back into either an all fours position, a child's pose, or a downward facing dog. So it's your choice here, what feels best for you. I'm gonna go for that downward dog because my hamstrings feel a little tight and my spine is nagging me for some length. So this is also a time to root down into the floor and get that sense of groundedness. So I know a lot's going on in our world right now. So finding the earth is really important. And give a few breaths there. And then again, that slow, slow transition, supported all the way down to all fours and then to a child's pose. So if you like to put your knees wide in a child's pose, do that. If you like your knees together, do that. Even the arms back behind you could be an option here. Even forearms. And we'll go ahead and rise up, and this is where you can add blocks, some weight, or nothing, just the use of your arms here. So for the purpose of the video, so that I'm not breathing as heavily, I'm going to use a lighter weight than I normally would. And so I'm gonna just start with the fives, and we'll go ahead and grab those. Again, you could do even a 1 pound weight would add some resistance, so totally up to you. Again, I'm gonna show you from the side. This time, instead of rounding our spine like we did last time, we're gonna find a lengthened spine in a chair pose. Now be generous with the distance your feet are apart. So you wanna feel really stable and balanced. And then from here, you're gonna bend your elbows and draw your shoulder blades onto your back. Now sometimes when we do that, we collapse here and overreach the tailbone back. So not so much that, just drawing the scapula onto the back. The chin's not jutting out, we're not rounding down. And then from here, just an extension and a bend. So I'm gonna keep my elbows in the same location and just let the forearms do the work. And I'm not trying to do this fast, nice and slow. Again, this would still be work with no weight at all. So we're getting a little more into that upper body, into the triceps, into the back, stabilizing through the trunk. Still working the legs. And then from here, we'll go ahead and give that a break. Find that weight just extending the arms down, and then soften through the neck and the jaw. Good. We're going to rotate now the palms forward. And then again, still a comfortable distance away with the feet here. And just begin slow movement of lifting and lowering your hands or your hands with any amount of added weight. So for the weight, you generally want to start light and increase from there as your strength develops, and just depending on what you want on a particular day. So I just noticed that I'm hardening out my knees, I'm dropping into my joints, so I'm going to put a little softness into my knees and continue here. And then we're going to add a 90-degree pause. So go ahead and pause here, roughly 90 degrees. My elbows aren't forward, they're not way back. They're basically, the upper arm bones are just aligned with my torso sides. And then we'll go into rotator cuff movement. So let's be really careful and start small. So all you're going to do is keep that 90-degree and then move your weights out to the side and back forward. Now you can move them out to the side to the degree that feels safe, and then from here you could even come in and almost cross one over the other a little bit and come back. You don't have to go all the way crossing the midline. You can just come back to that in front of you starting point, or you can do a little cross, just freeing up a little more range of movement there. And you'll feel probably this come into the upper back a little bit. Again, softness in the knees, support through the trunk. And then we'll come back for a pause, okay? And then from here, we're gonna draw all the way up into the area towards the shoulders. Rotate the palms forward and then lift up the weights from here. So you might wanna widen your stance on this to help with your balance. And I know my weights are out of the frame, just trust they're still there. And then we're gonna come back about 90 degrees and come up and down. So we're back in shoulders now. Again, checking in with the knees, and hopefully you're doing better breathing than I am because I'm talking your ears off. So make sure breath is a part of this. And think about breath as a layer of support under the work that you're doing. If all of this has seemed just really too simple and that it's just not enough challenge for you, maybe go up to an 8-pound or even a 10-pound, just depending on where your level is and if you've already been working with weights or not. So we'll do one more rep of taking the arms overhead and back to the side. Now we're going to do another pause and hold here. This time the 90 is out to the side. And then going back with that in and out at a higher position. So drawing the forearms in and open. And notice I'm not touching my blocks together here. If you want to add a lot more challenge, you can add a lot more challenge by taking the forearms closer together, elbows and hands closer together. Not necessary. This is tough. And then we'll come all the way out and then draw the weights down. Another stepping in and relaxing the shoulders and just letting the weights sort of traction the arms a little bit here. Find some breathing. Good. And then we're going to move a little bit more to the lower body at this point. So I'm going to set my weights down, the 5-pound weights. I'm going to grab a larger weight, and it's only one of them. Okay, so we're going to move into some squats. And so I'm going to go for my 15, and then I'm going to hold either end here. Okay, so not really holding the elbows out here, but sort of drawing them gently in. And then again from the side, similar to what we did with a slightly wider stance, we'll go ahead and initiate the squat movement with the hips drawing back. So just to show you the difference. Sometimes when I initiate the squat with my knees, I kind of draw the knees forward like so. But instead, I want to kind of put the work a little more in the glutes and the back body and hamstrings. So I'm going to initiate with that hip hinge, okay? So I'm going to draw the hips back, and then the knees will naturally bend. So it's almost like the first movement is with the hips and the secondary movement is the knees. That's sort of how I trick my brain into remembering how to do that. And again, I'm not going to overly back bend here, and I'm not going to overly round, but somewhere nice in between where I feel front, back, and side body supported. And I can take this nice and slow where I still have my breath. So even though the movement is more in the lower body, obviously because we're holding a weight, the whole body is working, upper body is working. If this becomes too much, get rid of the weight or get a smaller weight and just continue with the movement of the legs, and you can put the hands in prayer position or on the hips or forward or up. And then we're going to go into a hold, and then when you hold, wake up the inner thighs a little bit, those adductors we worked on earlier, so that you're not just putting the work where the body naturally kind of throws it, but that you're waking up a little bit more towards that midline. And then from here, we'll stretch it all the way up. Give the lift up of the weight. And then gently draw your way back down, transition it to one hand, and let's go maybe a mid-range weight for this next one. So I'm gonna go for a 12, and we're gonna stay in the legs, but we're gonna move to a split stance. So from here, I'm gonna take my right foot forward, my left leg back. Your weight can go where you had it before at the chest for your squat, or it can go above you. This gives you a little bit longer lever, and there's a little bit more balance involved because the weight is higher away and you kind of have to work to maintain where that weight remains. So whatever works for you, and we'll start with a bend and a lengthen. Breathing here. I'm not on a tight wire, so I've got plenty of room left to right for both feet. And working here. This is at your own pace, of course. And if shoes work better for you, then absolutely use shoes. Let's go into a hold. Breathe here. And bring the weight down. Straighten the legs, and we'll just transition to the other side. Widen the stance a bit here. Stabilize. Choose if the weight is at your chest or up, and begin. So I'm not doing a lot of counting. I'm not getting super precise with this workout. I'm just going to where I feel pretty even from side to side. If I wasn't talking to you guys so much, I would be counting for myself. So breath is number one. So if it becomes too difficult or too challenging and you've lost your breath, get rid of the weight or take a break or pause this at any time. And we'll do one more. Maybe a little hold and lengthen it up, wide stance. And let's go ahead and put that block down. So we're going to move back into a little bit more traditional yoga stuff and out of the weights. So if you want to put your blanket back onto your mat, taking the knees down, we'll step the right foot forward. Oh, maybe a block here inside of that right arch. And in the same way that you didn't overly reach into your soft tissue when we were here, same thing here. So drawing down to a degree where you're not collapsed, but you're not so high up here. Okay, so you're getting a stretch through the hip flexors, breathing. And then maybe lifting the left arm up, going for that stretch through the side body. The toes, it's really up to you. I love to do a tuck toe position. It helps me stabilize my patella by engaging my shin muscle. But if you feel better to have the top of your foot down, do that, okay? And then from here, take the torso back a little bit, and then we'll move back into a lateral to the right. Opening that whole side body. And then draw back up. Both hands are either going to go on the floor if that's really accessible for you, or on your block. And we'll shift back into a half Hanumanasana. So you can move your block back any amount, or even use one on each side. Spread your front set of toes really wide, opening back into that arch. And then instead of collapsing, roll the shoulder blades back, lengthen out of the pelvis, and draw the right hip crease back a little bit more, so this becomes a little more IT band focused. Finding your breath. If you want to get a little more IT band focused than that, use your block, hand to the block. Again, chest comes forward, right hip crease goes back, and then rotate the torso around. Back hand can be on the waist or up. Soften the facial muscles, soften the jaw. And come on back down. And then from here, hands onto your block, shift your hips back a little bit, and then allow that front leg to come back. We'll go back to that transition where we draw towards the block a little bit here. Draw in. And then inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Remove the block, we'll have that handy up front, and then we'll step the opposite, the left foot forward. Finding what we want on our back foot, and then what we need in our hips and our spine. Lifting the right arm, moving the torso back slightly, and then taking any amount of that lateral arc over to the left. Reach back up, come on down to the floor or your block, shift back into half Hanumanasana, drawing the hips back, spreading your toes as much as they will, left hip crease reaching, breathing here. Again, we're not trying to round and put our nose on the knee, but rather grow forward and up and out of the pelvis, which gives a little different sensation. And then block underneath the right hand, draw forward, left hand on the waist, maybe taking your twist here. Back hand is your choice of where that goes. And you don't have to look up, so if it doesn't feel comfortable for your neck to look up, make it a little more neutral. Even look down if that extension feels right for you. Inhale and exhale. Come on down, hands to the block. So allow a shift back and other knee comes back. Downward dog, child's pose, or all fours. So again, you have those options. Oh, and I didn't mention, you have the option to take a vinyasa. So if you're more into flow, or if you want a little more challenge today, and that's part of your practice, then you might be moving from your downward dog into your plank pose, lowering into your chaturanga, or maybe all the way towards the floor, upward dog or cobra, depending on the height, and exhaling, core derived to downward facing dog, not in a hurry. Breathing here. Inhale and exhale. Again, that slow transition. Let's reach it back for a child's pose. Now, if you want to grab a couple of blocks of the same height to bring this a little more into a heart opener, feel free to place some blocks, maybe first or second height, possibly widening the knees, spread the fingers wide, draw the heart down. And then moving into your relaxation, either remaining in your child's pose or coming onto your back if you're going to do a Shavasana. And I might recommend that we do some drawing in of the knees, maybe some stretching of the glutes here. So what feels good to you? You could have also placed maybe a pigeon pose instead of this one. And then again, any twisting that feels good. So I know you guys all have your favorite gentle hip opening and twisting postures. Ooh, I'm laying on a microphone. That feels really, really delicious here. And then come back. Again, give yourself plenty of time here. And then I ask that you turn off this video and either find some silence for yourself or maybe a soft ambient tune or a meditation to listen to stay grounded and give yourself that type of nourishment as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope to add a lot more content with accessible movement with or without weights. Let me know what you think and any suggestions. Namaste.